Hello and welcome to the biztrepreneurpodcast. I'm Kevin Ross and I'll be diving deep into conversation with entrepreneurs, hearing their stories, the highs, lows, tips, tricks and tactics, and most importantly to see where we can learn and hopefully be inspired. On today's episode, I chat to Michelle from Kinn. Michelle creates luxury bridal accessories. Now, I need to apologise. You asked why. Reason being, I told everyone that there was going to be an episode out for the Biztrepreneur podcast every Thursday. It didn't happen. It happened for the first 8 weeks, and then KR Bouncy Castles, my business, reopened at the end of April, and boom, it went in the back seat. I missed it. I really enjoyed doing it, but this episode with Michelle from Kinn was recorded back in the middle of May. It is now season 1 will end mid-August, that kind of way, with episode 10, and then I have some really cool influential people lined up for middle of September onwards to start season 2. The Biztrepreneur podcast, I hope for season 2 will have another 10 episodes, and I'm really excited about it. So back to Michelle, Female Entrepreneur of the Year 2020. She brings us along her journey and tells us the really good parts and the really bad parts, and she was just so honest, and she led us into her business and brought us to the time where she hit her low point, and it was such an inspiration because she's so bubbly. I wish everyone listening could see the facial expressions on Michelle and on me, because there was one part I nearly started crying. She's cool. She's cool and she knows what she's at and she's driven. And I think that's what people want to hear. It's motivational, it's inspiring, and I hope you enjoy. Thank you very much for tuning in once again. Michelle Reynolds Di Salvo, you are very welcome to the Biztrepreneur podcast. You're going to be talking about your business Kinn today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited about this.
From our conversations over the last couple of days, I have been pumped about this just to get talking to you and hear everything from the very start to where you are now at the moment and where you see the business going. So look, we're just going to bring it right back and just give all our listeners a quick intro as to who you are and what you do.
Thanks so much, Kevin. So my name is Michelle and I'm the designer and creator of Kinn, handmade veils and headpieces. So I make handmade headpieces for brides for the wedding and veils and jewellery as well. Launched my business in July of 2019, so I'm coming up to my 2-year anniversary party.
Yes.
Exactly. And Kinn comes from the Irish legend of Oisin and Niamh Kinn in the land of Tirnanog.
Okay.
And it was my favourite legend growing up. My dad used to always tell me about the love story of Niamh and Oisin and
galloping on the white horse, yeah.
Exactly. And never growing old and being immortalised. And when I was a child, I was so fascinated by my granny and her headpiece. She had a crown of feathers, but they were shaped into like flowers. And every time she talked about her wedding day and her love story with my grandfather, they were married nearly 60 years, her eyes had kind of mist over, and it was like she was transported back to that day. She remembered every detail of the day, and she used to wear a lavender outfit every year on her wedding anniversary to remember her lavender dress. So for me, the idea of immortality and the wedding day being a day that you live over and over and over again, and that's carried on to the next generation, is really the essence of Kinn. And that's tied up in, of course, the story of the land of the eternal youth, because it's a day you always return to and you relive over and over again. Every bride is immortalised on her wedding day. It's the one photo that's, in everybody's dining room, and even at a wedding, if you go to nowadays, you see the photo of the parents or the grandparents on their wedding days. So even though it's one day, it's not really one day, because it's a day that's relived over and over again.
I love the way there's so much meaning behind it. Wow, that's really cool. And
thanks.
Was it through your grandmother that the idea sprung?
Yeah, absolutely. She described going up to Dublin to get her headpiece and the beading on her dress, and like unfortunately these items sometimes get mislaid over the years, but we had all of the photos, and my granny used to let me sit down at the kitchen table. I used to play with buttons, and there was a little shop up the road from my granny called the Galway Bead Shop.
Okay.
And I used to buy beads and make things with wire, and you know, anytime I got pocket money I'd always be making things. And my mum as well, she made her own wedding dress, she made her headpiece, she made her veil. So I've always grown up, you know, knowing how to sew, embroider, and my mum specialises in Carrick-Macross lace and made my veil, headpiece and communion dress. So I guess I've been making things since I was a small child.
So you're a part of an artsy, crafty family.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Going from there, you started the business 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And you used to do this when you were younger, you know, doing all these crafts at your grandmother's house. Where was the transition between you saying, I'm going to make this a business, and what did you do before you actually started Kinn?
Well, it was in 2015, about a year before I got engaged. My mum got sick and I was at home with her, so I was really stressed. So I decided to go back to something that I remembered from when I was a child that really relaxed me. So started at the table doing lots of wire work and you know, making some small pieces. And then after I got engaged the following year, I decided, look, I'm not making my own dress and veil like my mum did, but I said I'm going to make my own headpiece. I started making some samples, and I decided then I'd fly over to Italy to choose the pearls. So I went over to a trade fair and I bought the pearls, and I met some designers who make carved coral. And you know, everybody was saying to me, oh my God, these things that you're making are so good. And I had already had a business in the wedding industry, but because I moved abroad, I never really pursued it when I came home. So I made my headpiece for my wedding day, and it was like beyond anything I ever imagined. I was so excited to wear it, and also to have it maybe someday to pass on to a future generation.
Gotcha.
So from there, that was 2016, I worked for my wedding the following year, and then I started making some headpieces for friends and my cousin, colleague of mine. And then in November 2018, I had just had my third miscarriage, and as soon as I recovered physically from that, I said, right, that's it, I'm almost 40. I'm not wasting any more time. I have to do this for
You're
me.
going to go for it. Whoa.
Go for it. Hell for leather. I said, right, that's it. I know my business name. I know what I'm going to do. So I rang the local enterprise office, and they said, we're winding down for the Christmas. Come back in January. And I was like, book me in. First week in January. And it was just from there, it literally snowballed. I went to my business clinic, which is a free business clinic in the local enterprise office. And it was an hour long, and I met this amazing man called James Barrett. And I was like a nerd. I was in the front row with my hand up, and I was like helping the other people with their ideas.
Yeah.
I was just buzzing, and he looked me in the eye and he said, you are going to be successful. And I chatted to him afterwards. As it turned out, I actually knew his son just by pure chance, but he was amazing. He shared his journey into business, and I got lots of practical advice. I got a page from the local enterprise with like, this is what you need to do, because I didn't know where to start. I guess like so many people, I just was like, okay, just tell me what to do and I'll do it.
Everyone needs that guidance. Yeah.
Exactly. And I had a list of like all the different courses, like accounting. I had no clue about accounting, taxes, and each date. And I literally booked every single course. So I was working full-time teaching adults English, and I was, of course, doing the exam classes. So I would say, 60% of my job was brainwashing them. You've got this, you can do this, chase your dreams. Doesn't matter if English is your second language. You go in there and you don't take no for an answer. And I was telling them all of this every day in the classroom. I was like, well, like now it's my turn. This is my dream, and the time is now. So I did every single course, and I even managed, there was that spring I had to have a surgery, And I didn't want to miss my class on SEO because I hadn't a clue about SEO. So I got
Don't tell me you
taxi.
were inside in the hospital tuning into the local enterprise office or something like that.
Well, yeah, that's another story. I did work from the hospital actually as well. But I attended in a taxi. I wasn't supposed to be out of the house. I was so sick, but I attended the 4-hour workshop and it was amazing. And I just knew that I had to have that grit and determination that, you know, if I was weak in an area like SEO, computers, anything to do with technology, accounting, the creative side, I had it down. There was no issue there, but I knew that I had to wear many hats and get help, and that was I suppose the local enterprise. I mean, I know all of them now, and they have been instrumental. Yeah, well, just the only thing is, when you said to me, was I working from the hospital? When I was in for one of my surgeries, I actually had found a lady called Stefania Zelli, and I wanted to develop my porcelain work because nature and the sea are really inspiring to me, of course, with the whole Irish mythology and everything. So I wanted to become really, really good at porcelain flowers. I found this lady on Facebook called Stefania Zelli, and she doesn't speak English. So I was in the middle of a conversation with her, convincing her to do a private lesson with me, but she didn't know I lived in Dublin. And because she had different workshops around Italy, and I was asking her, could she do a private lesson with me for 8 hours? So then the nurse came down and it was time to wheel me down to theatre and give me a general anaesthetic. And I was just asking her, could you just give me 1 minute? I just wanted to see, would Stefania say yes or no to giving a private lesson for me on a specific day? And then she agreed. So I left my phone. I said, I'll be back in about an hour. I have to go now. I didn't want to tell her I was in hospital about to have surgery because she would have thought I was crazy. And I gave my phone to my husband and I said, okay, if she says yes, we'll book the flights, you know. And of course he felt sorry for me because I was about to have surgery. And when I woke up, I just wanted to see my phone and see the messages from her. And I said, that's brilliant, and we booked the flights, and I think she must have thought I was completely crazy. I flew over to Rome with my husband and saw my parents, and then I was like, right, I have to go to Stefania, and I spent 8 hours with her. We made some beautiful flowers. She doesn't speak any English at all, but I understood her because I can speak some Italian.
The craft spoke.
Yeah, exactly.
The craft
exactly
spoke.
Her fingers,
Yeah.
and I was looking in her eyes and understanding what she was saying, and that was absolutely amazing for me. She just could not believe that I flew over from Ireland to have a lesson with her. So so I think you have to be prepared to kind of be a little bit crazy. I mean, I did tell her afterwards, by the way, when I was chatting to you, asking you for this lesson, I was actually preparing to go into theatre, and she couldn't believe it. She said, wow, Michelle. She couldn't believe it.
So before Kinn started, you were in teaching.
That's right. So I was I was an English teacher for adults, teaching all exam classes for 16 years, and that led me to living in Greece for 2 years, and it was allowed me to go to Italy. But I always had my job in Dublin to come back to, and I loved the exams because of the push and the focus.
Wow, I'd say you'd be some motivator of a teacher. I mean, you're like a pump, let's go, like, you know.
Well, you know, it was lovely for me because I had everybody from like a retired surgeon from Iran to teenagers from Japan and Saudi scholarship students. So for me, I guess being able to deal with people comes quite naturally to me, and that side of the business, dealing with brides and resolving any issues and having good communication, I think is everything I guess I learned with that has been great. So that was really challenging. Fantastic. Juggling the two.
Exactly, yeah. So you went to the local enterprise office, you went to all these different information evenings and online courses. How was it when you got your first paid client for the job, you know, when you were actually up and running as a business? So like, how was it when you got that first client? How did you get it? You know, was it word of mouth? Was it marketing? What happened?
Well, it was actually 4 months after I launched that I got my first sale, and I couldn't say that for a long time because I was so kind of embarrassed. I mean, I had done things for people as gifts and that kind of thing, and I launched my website, and actually it was officially open for orders from July, but I didn't get my first sale until October.
So and 4 months. Wow.
4 months. And I think nothing for me, whatever I face with the business in the future, there is nothing that will come close to that. And I guess I had been prepared, like, oh, don't think now, if you build it, they will come. Like, I had been warned, but nothing actually prepared me for how that would feel, like waiting 4 months for my first sale, because I was working every day in my day job, and then I was working with Kinn in the evenings, and I kind of assumed that the people would just find me and start ordering things. And even though I knew it wasn't like that, but I guess people don't kind of share that enough, and I wasn't really shouting it from the rooftops. I guess when I was on Instagram, kind of promoting my business, I had about maybe 200 followers. I made a crown for an influencer who I absolutely loved, and she had said, oh, I'd love a crown, and I instantly DM'd her and said, I'd love to make you one, and I made her an absolutely beautiful bespoke piece. And a bride found me through her because they were getting married in the same wedding venue.
Okay.
And she contacted me, and I made her headpiece, and she came to my house and I worked with her, and I had changed my bio as well with bespoke orders welcome. And as soon as I did that, it was a game changer, because people weren't just relying on the 14 pieces I had launched on the website, and they were like, oh, Michelle takes bespoke orders.
People wanted a bit of exclusivity when they're ordering their piece for their special day.
And then I got another order and another order. So I had like maybe 3 or 4 orders before Christmas that year. And I think what somebody had said to me as well, because I did see businesses who opened around the same time as me, but they were doing it full time. And I was kind of, I suppose, in that in-between stage where I hadn't gone full time with my business, but I was still working in my day job.
Yes.
And that, I was told, it was a really good piece of advice. Your business will grow, but it will grow slower because you're working full time as well. So I just kind of kept telling myself that. But I do remember there was a very low point that summer, like without being all doom and gloom. But I guess it's important to share the highs and the lows.
The highs and the lows, you have it, yeah.
Well, there was a point in the summer where I had been scammed out of €1,250 by a Chinese packaging company.
Oh.
And unfortunately, I couldn't get it back, and I was a bit naive. His name was Zhang, and he sent me a sample, and I trusted him, I guess, and he was telling me, don't worry, Michelle, they're on their way. And eventually paper bags arrived, but no packaging. So the Garda who was dealing with me in the Garda station.
What do you mean? As in, like, so you ordered boxes or something, was it? You ordering boxes?
So I ordered luxury black presentation boxes for the veils and the headpieces with gold foil.
Bags.
Yeah, he sent me a cardboard box of paper bags, like as in that you'd get in a shop. I paid €1,250 thinking I was getting my first order of gift boxes, and I got a docket, and they eventually arrived, but it was paper bags. But I knew at that stage the money was gone, because we traced the money to New York, and then the money was gone. But the Garda who was dealing with me in Ballymun, he saw my tears, and he could see I was so invested, and he said, look, he was so nice to me, and the lady in Bank of Ireland was so nice to me. They wished me well with all of their heart, and I said, look, they kept saying to me, you'll get it back somehow, and I really have. I mean, I've put that behind me now, and I made that back in a couple of months, so. But I remember reaching out to Aidan from Avalanche, who manages my old website and is currently working on my brand new website through the
for anyone that doesn't know, we've actually done an episode with Aidan there.
That's right.
Episode, I think is it
6 episodes?
6, that's it. Episode 6 with Aidan, yeah.
And Aidan has been absolutely amazing as a mentor, not only for the technology side, but I remember reaching out to him one night, sitting on the sofa, and the tears were coming down my face, and my husband was saying, like, you haven't got any sales, and like, you've scammed out of this money. And like, what are you doing? And I just remember the tears coming down my face, and I just didn't know who else to turn to. So instead of it being a technology question this time, wrecking his head, I reached out. That was really, for me, the lowest point of the business. I said, what am I going to do? Like, and he just said, I remember I said, will I get another job? And what am I going to do? And he said to me, Michelle, you know, you don't need, and he said to me, Michelle, you don't need, focus on plan A, you don't need plan B. And he said, it's hard slog in the beginning. And he gave me some really good practical advice. And I guess you never forget those people who kind of give you a push when you need it and give you some kind words. And for me, that was my lowest point, and it was onwards and upwards from then. And when I got my first sale a couple of months later in October, I left my job then in February of 2020, the week COVID hit. But
oh my God. So yeah, you left the job, and then you were saying, I'm going full-time now with Kinn.
Yeah.
And what happened to the business? Because obviously weddings gone.
That's it. Yeah, well, I had a couple of orders in January and February, but I had a lot of inquiries, and I said, oh my God, this is going to be great. And I handed in my notice, which was a very difficult decision because I loved my job. But I said, look, if I'm going to make this work, I have to give it my full attention. And I said, now is the time. And then boom, COVID hit, and of course inquiries and the orders dried up, with brides not knowing where their wedding was.
Yeah.
So that was a bit of a shock. But I just remember I was at a point where I was so like razor sharp focused. I said, I didn't know how long this pandemic was going to last. I certainly didn't think we'd be here, you know, a year later, still in the midst of it. But I was determined. I said, I have to show up every day, minimum of 6 days a week, orders and no orders. So I worked on my social media. I worked on sending over pieces for shoots to a wedding planner in California, because they were still doing bits and pieces over there.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I got work published. A lot of the influencers that I follow, some of them are bride-to-bes, they were helping other COVID brides by having competitions. I reached out, I gave away vouchers, and I said, I'm going to double my social media following over the next couple of months. And I have actually, from this, when I went full-time, I had only 1,000 followers, and I'm now close to 5,000. And again, it's not about the numbers, but the more people who know about me, I guess, the more brides who find me. A lot of brides, by kind of May, some of them were either postponing until the autumn of 2020, or they were going ahead with a smaller wedding. I myself only had 6 guests at my wedding, so I started helping them and saying, well, look, actually by choice 4 years ago I had 6 at my wedding, so I had the most beautiful, amazing wedding in Italy.
Oh, fab.
And so I was kind of helping them as well, and using my skills as a wedding planner to kind of, I suppose, give them as much support as I could from May onwards. So I didn't have orders, so we'll say the end of February, March, April, and then the start of May. It has absolutely snowballed since then. I think I've only taken a week off. I took a week off in 2020 and a week off for Christmas, and that was it.
Go you.
Because,
yes.
Well, I guess because I was able to say to the brides, look, they had their dress, their wedding was maybe postponed, and they wanted to have the luxury VIP experience of working with me. And I was literally, I couldn't take any people to my studio in Dublin. So I was literally working with them using my mobile phone, recording videos, showing them close-ups of pearls, doing sketches, and I recorded everything, send it to them on WhatsApp. They could watch it, and it became like a beautiful experience for them, because a lot of them were separated down the country from their moms or their dads, and they were sharing it with their mum, they were sharing it with the videos with their sisters.
Love it.
And it became like a lovely kind of bonding experience. I mean, one of my brides is from South Africa, and her mum is over there and she's in Dublin, and another one of my brides is in London and her mum is in County Meath. So it became a lovely way for them to share the videos between each other. And what do you think about this? Michelle is showing me this colour pearl, and Michelle said I can have this or this. I'd give them options. They'd come back to me when they were finished work, whenever they had the chance, and I'd go then with making it. Yeah, I got an order in May. Again, once it came to the 3-month mark after no orders with COVID, I did panic a little bit. I wasn't entitled to the pandemic employment money, but I was just so razor focused And I said, like, I brought Kinn into this world, and I have to feed her. I have to feed her with my time, my energy, and she is going to feed me. And this is like the infant stage. So it's kind of like, I suppose people always said, it's like having a baby. It's a 24/7 thing. I mean,
I love the way you put that. That's really nice. Do you know, that is really nice. You're bringing this in, you're working on it, you're helping it to thrive, you're helping it to grow. You know, as you said, you're feeding the business. Like those days where you had no actual physical orders to fulfill, but you were doing social media, you were planning ahead, you were trying to organize whatever it might be, like online, the website, working on that, the information, the knowledge, you know. Michelle, you're blowing my mind here. Like, this is brilliant. This is brilliant. And look, and I suppose, look, normally we talk about the high and then we talk about the low. We've got the low. Where was the high? Where was the peak moment in the business so far where you've been like, oh my God, this is fantastic?
I think the highs have been so high that literally, like, if I think about them now, I'll probably start getting emotional, but the highs have been wiped out all of the lows. Like, even just one high, my first sale, that was absolutely unbelievable. Another high for me was just before I actually launched my website. I found this luxury wedding planning team in California, and they were doing a PS I Love You photo shoot. And they put it up on a group that I had joined on Facebook. I joined every Facebook group to do with weddings, and especially with photographers. Okay. And she had 11,000 followers, and she was a published photographer, and she worked with this luxury planner. And I just left a comment. I said, are you using anything Irish? Because PS I Love You is from an Irish author, and it was also, the movie was filmed. I said, would you like an Irish veil? And I just very cheekily put it out there, and I was almost embarrassed because I had no website at that stage, and it was about 1 month before I launched. And they got back to me and they said, hi Michelle, we'd love to see your work. I have a meeting with the wedding planner tomorrow for the editorial. This is a shoot on another level. They hire a venue. There's like a 5-course meal for all the photographers. The photographers pay about $400 to attend. And there's, models from an agency. There's a trailer with hair and makeup. Okay. It's like a film set. They chose my veil, and that was published 13 times, including on Wedding Chicks, which has a reach of almost 1 million viewers. So for me, knowing that I was the only international wedding supplier, and even though I couldn't attend in person, I got messages from all of the American vendors saying they were just blown away. They'd never seen a French silk Juliet cap veil before, and that literally was published. So that was massive for me in the early days. And then my first sale, and then I found out that I was nominated in the Micro Business Awards, and then I got a phone call to say that I was nominated with 89 women to be Female Entrepreneur of the Year. Okay. And that blew my mind, because I was like, oh my God, it's like, there's 89 women who have taken a chance on themselves and opened their business and pursued their dream, whether it's part-time or full-time. And I was like, I am among them. This is like, I really felt like I was being taken seriously. And then I found out I was in the top 3, and of course the awards were online and on Zoom, and of course I didn't really understand Zoom very well at the time, so I didn't know I was going to be on camera, and I had like I had no makeup and a tracksuit on, and I was there looking at the computer, and they called my name, and I went bright red and started crying. I couldn't believe it. So I won Female Entrepreneur of the Year 2020. Yeah.
Oh my God, congratulations. Wow.
Thank you so much.
This is brilliant.
It was amazing. I mean, like, for me, like being in the top 3 was amazing, but then I was like, I really, really want to win, because like 2020 was the year that I left my job. I threw myself into it. Was the year of the pandemic. Weddings were cancelled, and I was making like, sale after sale after sale. I stopped taking orders in October because of Christmas, and I was able to donate a headpiece for cancer. charity.
Oh, wow, well done.
I was able to offer frontline brides a €50 discount as part of the Operation Help Our Health Heroes organised by a wedding planner. I was able to have a launch party for my 1 year birthday, my 1 year Kinn birthday. I had a balloon with one. I sent my husband, I was like, I want a balloon with one. And I got dressed up, and I had a competition every night for a week, and I gave away like so many vouchers, and I really enjoyed it. I guess to echo what some people have said, even on your podcast, you really do have to celebrate the highs.
You do.
Because there's so many, it's like the lows are so low, but the highs are so high. And, I've literally been reduced to tears so many times from sheer joy, and that's what keeps me going. And, just even getting feedback from brides, and like I closed orders in March until May 29th because I was doing rush order after rush order, brides going ahead.
Yeah.
And it's been crazy. So I think by the end of this year, I'll be making my first hire, hopefully, and get somebody to work with me part-time.
This is fantastic. Well done.
Thank you so much.
Even with, donating to like the cancer charities, you're a really good person. You're a really, really good person. So Michelle, where did your inspiration come from?
Well, for inspiration in terms of the drive for the business, there's so many different people who I've seen excel in their business, who I sort of look up to, and that I'm like, oh, I want to be like them. They mightn't be in the same field as me, but that has been absolutely instrumental to me. Chupi Sweetman from Chupi Jewelry, when she shared her story of having 2 Facebook followers and starting her business, from nothing really, and renting and putting all her money into her business as opposed to, buying a house at that time.
Gotcha.
That was so inspirational for me. And Aidan, of course, from Avalanche, who, he shared his story and told me about being, on the floor of his parents' bedroom. And, I think a lot of people start from there. I saw another magazine article as well where so many people started in the garage, like Walt Disney. And when I saw
Amazon,
these things, I was like,
selling books out
exactly.
of the garage, like, Jeff Bezos.
Exactly. So that for me was really like, there's nothing wrong with starting at your kitchen table, or starting in your spare room, or starting, on your floor in your parents' room or whatever. And, starting with nothing. I mean, I had nothing in my bank account that day that I was scammed. I had nothing left. I had to ask my husband for money to buy stuff for Kinn, like nothing. And hearing other people who had grown their business from having putting everything into their dream, and seeing that the grit and the passion and surviving resilience from the hard days, that for me, and hearing those stories has been amazing. I just hope that someday I can, give back and help other people by sharing my story, or I always see myself like, maybe 10, 20 years down the line, when I have a bit more experience, I'd love to, mentor startups. I mean, that would be an absolute dream for me. And this year, the local enterprise office reached out to me, and they asked me, would I like to come back on the 7th of March for the Start Your Own Business Bootcamp, which I had attended for 2 years. I mean, I went back the second year to absorb any bits that I missed. And the first year I went, I literally was set on fire. I think I've only had maybe 1 or 2 experiences like that in my life. They were so passionate, and they shared some different excerpts, and they had us doing things in groups, and it was absolutely amazing. They kept telling me, what will get you out of bed on a rainy November morning? And of course, obviously they didn't literally mean a rainy November morning, they meant at that low point. When they asked me to come back, because I did say to Noel the first year, I said, Noel, I'm going to come back as one of the key speakers. And he said, oh yeah. But they actually reached out to me this year, and they asked me would I come back and share my story. And I got it was on Zoom now, but I got such a lovely response from everybody asking questions, and some people who were in that stage where they were working and they had their job, and I was able to share what it was like for me.
The podcast, really, and you're saying there, sharing your story and you hearing other people's stories, that I think is worth more than anything.
Yeah.
But that's why I set up this podcast. It really is a massive benefit for, okay, right, you know, you do get to go to mentors with the local prize enters office, but to hear people's stories, I think that's worth so much more to get you pumped, to get you motivated. Like, I was inside the shop the last day, and the shopkeeper just said to me, they were like, Kevin, I'm listening to the podcast. I'm absolutely loving it. It's brilliant. I want to start something. I don't even know what I want to start, but I want to start something. You know, and I'm there kind of going, yes, that buzz. This is what I want. And, you know, at the intro of the podcast, everyone takes the mick out of me. They're like, oh, tips, tricks, and tactics, and hopefully will inspire you and everything. You know, and everyone's taking the mick because they hear it every single episode. But literally, that's what I want to do. That's what it's all about, is to inspire people. And we're just talking about how where you're getting your inspiration from, you know, and hopefully from people listening to this, they're going to be inspired.
Oh, I hope so. I mean, even when you hear, like, you know, when you shared your story of how you started a business and that drive and that enthusiasm, and like, I could relate to you with your bouncing castle, and you had spent all your money on that, and it's like, it's that leap of faith. And there's so many people who are literally, you know, kind of tithering on the edge, thinking about it, and I guess before you actually take that leap of faith, sometimes there can be years behind it, and then something clicks, and that's it. Right, it's now or never, and then they just take that leap of faith, and it's amazing just to hear people's stories.
And like, I was very lucky to have my father to be able to give me that kind of like that push, you know. He was my driver behind all this. My mom and dad were absolutely fantastic, but I have to say that it is from my parents the way I got it.
Yeah, and me too. My mum and dad always said, if you want something, you have to work for it. And my mum would always say to me, you know, echo my grandfather's words, if you enlist, you soldier. So sometimes I would call my mum and I'd be upset, and like, if something wouldn't go wrong, come on now, you know, you signed up for this, that's it. Draw a line underneath it. But you know, she follows one account on Instagram, me, and she, you know, she's excited to see what I do, or I'll send her a video, say, look mum, I'm working on this, and she's like, which bride is this now? Is this the one who lives in Cork or whatever? So it's, you know, it's like, my parents gave me a lesson that I had to strive and grit and to push myself hard every day. So
who is your absolute dream client? Is there someone that you'd be like, I would love to do a piece for them?
I actually have some of my dream clients on my books. I can't say their name.
That's
because
great.
I'm sworn into confidentiality, so I'm really, really lucky that I have those brides. Now, they have actually postponed to next year, so which is absolutely fine, but I will have to wait until next year to reveal that. But I guess every bride that I have worked with so far, I mean, I don't really believe in the whole bridezilla thing, even though I have witnessed a few bridezilla moments. But with me, I guess I take them by the hand, and I'm so involved with them, and they trust me. I guess that's a dream for me, that each bride is such a unique vision. Some of them are a little bit more laid back, of course. They kind of say, oh, Michelle, I leave it up to yourself. And then I'll say, well, would you like it like this or this? And they say, oh, Michelle, whatever you think. And some of them are like, can I see that? And can I see it like this? And would you mind just putting that side by side? So, you know, for me, every bride, when I get a photograph of a bride on their wedding day, and they come back to me and say, Michelle, like, my favourite part of the wedding planning was working with you to design my headpiece, or everybody admired the headpiece. Like, I honestly can't ask for more than that. So I guess all of my brides so far have been my dream clients.
So Michelle, every business needs to be marketed. You've obviously told us already how your social media following has grown from 1,000 just, you know, after a while, and then you were up at nearly 5,000 now. What other marketing avenues did you go down? How did you get the message out there up to where you are now?
Well, when I started out at the beginning of last year, I started doing some wedding shows, and those were absolutely amazing. I did one in particular in Markree Castle in January last year, and it cost me €800 to get the stand, and like I didn't have it, so it was a bit of an investment, I guess, but I just kept saying, I'm investing in myself. So I put it out there that I had to earn that money back, and I had 4 hours, and I was just like manifesting, like I'm going to get that back. And I had an amazing day in Marquee Castle. I made it back and more, and I actually just finished a headpiece there for a mother of the bride who met me like basically last January, 12 months. I was on my own at the stand. It was like a most beautiful castle. It was a sunny day in January, one of those crisp, like idyllic winter days. My husband was with me helping set up the stand, and it was one of those pinch me moments. I literally was on a high for the whole day. And people I met at the castle, they were either getting married in, let's say, 2021, some of them postponed, but they all came back to me. And that absolutely blew my mind, that I was actually able to meet them, talk to them, give them advice. And there was a queue of people to talk to me that day. So I really am looking forward to getting to meet brides in person, because I guess everything that I do is, kind of virtually with, WhatsApp or over the phone.
Yes.
I did another one in the Athlone Springs Hotel, and that was amazing. Got to meet some fabulous brides as well. And again, some of them have postponed. But I have their details, and I know their new wedding dates and everything. So I'm definitely looking forward to doing some more shows like that, because I think they really work well when brides can meet you face to face and get a feel of who you are. So I'm trying to kind of make up for that by coming on Instagram a little bit more. I was a bit shy of doing face to camera, because I hid my face from Instagram for about the first maybe 4 or 5 months, and then I came on and I was shaking because I'm not great with technology. But now I come on and I just say, look, I have to show up every day for my clients. So I guess I'm definitely learning.
Your Instagram feed is really
thank
cool.
you.
Your Instagram feed it's very active. So anyone just to follow that, it's KINN space OFADA IR.
Yeah.
And there you have it. Like, you're a people's person, so you could, like, the way you're talking now, you'd sell sand to the Arabs, like, and you're at these trade shows, and I'd say everyone that comes up, you have them snapped up like that,
Thank you so much. Well, I guess I try to put them, at their ease. And, most of the time when I come on Instagram, I am, as I tell my brides, in my working from home outfit with my hair in a ponytail, no makeup, in a hoodie. But that's like them. They're, working from home as well. I'm not trying to pretend to be, somebody I'm not. I'm like, guys, look, here I am in my tracksuit again. And sometimes they'll say, oh, Michelle, I love how you're so real. And, I'm not trying to be somebody I'm not. I'm not funny. I don't think I'll ever be funny. I'm not really cool, but I'm real, and I'm interested in their wedding and helping them to put the details together. Because once they've found the dress, it's the details to bring together. And I trained as a florist, a bridal wedding florist, so I'm hugely inspired by nature and flowers. So sometimes if they have a flower that they love, I can make it out of porcelain clay. I mean, I'm in contact now with the lady who trained me up 3 levels in floristry, and I say, look, I'm still doing arranging, but now I'm making my own flowers out of porcelain. So I follow a lot of the design rules. But I can make any flower out of a piece of clay. I get my clay from Italy, and I can make anything. I mean, I made a freesia headpiece for a bride who got married in London last month, because her parents love freesias, and it has a special meaning for her. I made another beautiful headpiece for a bride whose parents sadly passed away, and she came to me with, I asked her, was there anything that has a special meaning to her, and she told me her mum's favourite colour, which we included into the headpiece, and she told me her dad's favourite flower, and so I was able to make the cherry blossoms, which were her dad's favourite flower, and included that in. So
it has a bit of meaning to it.
A meaning to it, exactly. And so I'm an extremely sentimental person, and I love to kind of bring that into it as well.
And so what's the actual process in it? The person gets onto you. How does that process work, from start to finish?
So usually a bride will get in touch with me. I would say most of the brides, I'd say maybe 95% of them would get in touch with me through Instagram. which is how they find me. And they would send me a DM and say, we're just wondering, could you make something like this? And they might send me a picture of a piece I've made on my Instagram story. Maybe I made it for another bride, or they might send me a picture of their dress. You know, what kind of headpiece do you think would go with this dress? So I'll reply to them, and I will then give them my Kinn WhatsApp number, and I'll move them over to WhatsApp. So for, you know, ease of sending videos, and so that I don't lose their message in a ream of DMs. And then we'll just kind of go back and forward. I'll find out what kind of headpieces they want, if it's a crown, if it's a comb, if it's a veil. And then they'll give me some photos of their dress, maybe their shoes. And then we will work together. I'll show them some ideas, and then they'll watch the videos and they'll come back to me. Oh, I love this kind of flower. I'd love a little bit of blue. I love your idea for having something blue. And I love these pearls. And could I have that in crown? And I'll get then some of the scientific details, like how high they want it. Like a statement for one bride is delicate for another bride. So I'll get the height of the crown.
Yes.
And then I'll do the sketch. Once they're happy with that, then I'll email them the quote and my bank details, and they send me on a deposit of 50%. And then I start working on their headpiece or their veil. And they get update videos then, which they absolutely love. And they have to keep the excitement, and of course they have to say, they might message me back, oh, I'm sitting beside himself now, and I can't wait to watch these on my own, because of course they don't want the groom to see the top secret. And so they watch it then, and they'll come back to me, and then they'll say, oh, Michelle, I'm so excited. And that's been really nice for me to get the excitement going, because it's all been doom and gloom about weddings, but I get them so excited about, look at this flower, and you know, how do you think it's looking? And your flowers are drying, because I dry them on polystyrene with wires in the middle of them. And I'll say, your flowers are now drying and they'll be ready now in 48 hours. And just want to show you. So here they are now. And then
just keeps them pumped.
It does. And they love to see it. It could only be like a 1-minute video, but just to know that their headpiece is in progress. And then once I've all the elements made, I might make little beaded sprigs. And once I've it all made, then I'll just do a mock-up of it. And once they're happy, I'll go and make it. And then I do a final reveal video, which is one of my favourite parts. I do a reveal video slideshow, and I will address the bride by their name. So it could be Dear Maria, and then I'll put the text and music, and that's the reveal video, and that's what makes them cry. And that's lovely. I love getting the crying selfies, and they haven't even actually seen the headpiece. And then my packaging is, luckily I found a great packaging company, and they were very good to me when they heard about my scam, and they allowed me to buy in really small quantities, you know, to begin with. And my packaging is a kind of a bit of an experience. I have everything done in tissue paper with a gold stamp and a wax seal and a letter written to the bride. And they usually open it in their childhood bedroom with their mom. That's kind of become a theme, because they get so excited. I mean, I suppose it's part of the wedding day as well, so that's really nice.
The wedding day, and it's part of the process. Like, that's really nice. That's so nice. That's so nice. And like, look, if you could go back to before you started, what advice would you give yourself? And then going on to, what advice would you give someone that wants to start up a business, that's sitting on the line?
So if I could go back and give myself advice, it would be to plan out my days, especially in the start when I was working a job and Kinn, to plan out my days into like maybe hour segments. So like if somebody's working in their day job and they've just kind of in that starting area, that rather than kind of trying to do 20 things at once, to plan out their days, that they have like an hour maybe for social media, an hour for product development. I didn't really do that, and I just kind of ended up spending way too long on one thing. So definitely the time management thing for me. And I would go back and just kind of say, do more maybe manifesting and do more visualizing. I never thought I would be in a position where I have 8 people now on my waiting list for when I'm taking orders from May 29th. Like, I was only talking about this with my mum today. I said, I never thought I would be in this position. And like, obviously it's not without blood, sweat and tears. People keep saying to me, oh, you're flying it. It's not without the blood, sweat and tears. But I wish I had sat down and taken a moment to manifest that and imagine what it would feel like to keep, you know, the kind of excitement in me rather than the challenges. So that's what I'd go back and advise myself on. Probably as well, maybe to do a bit more accounting, because I was kind of like, oh, I don't need to worry about that now. I'll just keep making new designs. So I guess a lot of creatives are, I suppose, a little bit guilty of that. And then of course do some maybe do some more research. I mean, I wish I hadn't got scammed. I wish I hadn't found my first website designer, who's not Aidan from Avalanche. I wish I had gone with him in the first place, but I'm excited for my new website. But I guess these are things that other people have faced as well, so I try not to kind of beat myself up too much.
And as you said, they're all in the past now. You've
Absolutely.
moved on. You're on bigger, better things now at this stage, you know.
So for people who are sitting on the fence and they have this business idea, it's very easy just to say go for it, you know, and I think yes, go for it, but it's also a little bit of a calculated risk. Throwing away a day job, you know, and pursuing a dream is all very well. I think there has to, unless you're financially stable, there is going to be a bit of a transition period, and to kind of, I suppose, say to yourself what was said to me, it will grow, but it'll just grow slower at the start, and then you'll be able to take the leap of faith. But I think doing research is really good, and people kept saying to me, market research. I didn't even really understand what market research was, and I'd hear it all. I was kind of like, do you know what market research was? I was in the classroom and I didn't know. But I think spying, I guess, Googling, spying on other people, what they're doing, what's selling, what's missing.
See where you can create your unique selling point, because there's always someone that's leading the way, you know, so you have to try to get ahead of that and try to exceed.
I think also getting an outside perspective, like, you know, your mum or your partner will always tell you you're amazing, you're brilliant, that's everything you do is fantastic. But I think getting an outside perspective, whether it's from somebody that you trust, maybe a mentor, you know, somebody local who, you know, who can kind of
that'll
tell you straight to your face, look, this is pie in the sky, or this is actually a really good business idea. And also not to kind of get into debt. I mean, the scary statistic that I always had in the back of my mind was 8 out of 10 businesses will fail. So I was like, oh my God, I have to be in that 2 out of 10 that will succeed. And I remember asking, you know, why do they fail? And one of the most common reason that small businesses fail would be cash flow. So like, I had a second-hand desk that I upcycled. I was in the conservatory, which we had converted into, we put a new roof on, and I was determined not to get the fancy computer, not to get fancy rubbish that I didn't need, that would get me into debt, that I wanted to keep my...
You're going to work with what
you have. And I think people kind of sometimes can rush in, they say, oh, well, that's for my business, so I'll get a really fancy swivel chair or fancy this. At the start, you don't need that. There'll be lots of surprises down the way, so I think keeping it low as possible at the start, that would be really good advice, particularly if people are maybe starting a business from actually not having any employment, or if they're in that period where they're transitioning. So you know, that's what advice I'd give them.
So I'm sure there is, and hopefully there's a couple of brides here listening and future brides, you know, costing. How much does one of your pieces cost?
Well, I have a minimum, if I'm doing a bespoke order, so I would say the majority of my orders are bespoke orders. I mean, I do have different collections on my website. For bespoke orders, which would be, you know, most of my brides would choose that, a bespoke order starts at €200. And it goes up from there. So if they come to me looking for a headpiece and they say, Michelle, I want a headpiece, I mean, generally they don't, because I have this on my highlights and my stories on Instagram. So they kind of, and they know from looking at my website what, you know, the items would kind of cost. But if they came to me looking for a comb and their budget was, let's say, €150, I tell them, you know, I could do a bespoke commission, starts at €200, but they might order a comb and something else now, and generally generally speaking, if I'm doing a crown for a bride, it could be around €300. It might be a little bit less. I mean, I did offer discounts for brides last year who had to postpone, just to kind of help them out and that, or I had a promotion with, like, maybe I'd give them maybe a pair of earrings or a little bridesmaid's pin just to kind of help out. Yeah, it would start around €200. The average bride would maybe, for themselves, if it's a crown or a comb or a hair vine, it could be between 250 to 320, and then for a veil it could be anywhere between 300 to, let's say, 500, depending on how long they want it, depending on, I mean, it could be all hand embellished with freshwater pearls, Swarovski. One bride there, I did her wedding date, which is also her parents' wedding anniversary. I did it in the beading pattern, and her dad is gifting her the veil, and her mum sadly passed away, so I embroidered mum in blue under the comb, so nobody can see it except herself and her dad, and it was a beautiful, and they know it's there, and it was a beautiful piece, commission piece to work with. So I do give my full attention now. Sometimes I get given out to about my pricing with the building craft art and design program that I'm doing, because they say I put too much work into it, but I really enjoy what I do, and I have new collections coming out. There will be, more luxurious pieces, but I mean, there's no limit to what a bride can order. I mean, I had one bride there who found me in the the Sunday World, and Denise Smith had featured me in her column, and it was a tiny little piece about 2 inches, and one of my brides found me, and she ordered a crown. She ordered earrings, she ordered a bridesmaid's headpiece, bridesmaid's earrings, a bracelet, mother of the bride brooches, and it just went on and on. So that was amazing, and and she got married on New Year's Day and invited me to the live streaming, and of course I was watching it. It was just such a high to start 2021.
It's an unusual question. I ask it to everyone that comes onto the podcast, and you probably know what it's going to be because you listed in. Tell us something that nobody knows about you.
Okay. Well, something really random about me is that I'm absolutely terrified of locusts. Like locusts as in these big grasshoppers. I have such a fear. I think it came from when I was a child. I used to read like Bible stories for children. My mum was doing the right thing, and of course I saw these locusts flying with the plague. And I used to dream about them and everything. I suppose I have a vivid imagination. When I lived in Greece, there are these massive, they're like grasshoppers, but they're kind of flying grasshoppers. They're like locusts.
Gotcha.
And I almost dropped my friend's baby when I saw a locust. I remember giving her son to her, and I went in and I threw up, because not from the fear of the locust, but from the fear that I almost could have dropped the baby and that going through my head. So I guess it's kind of ridiculous. They all laughed at me because of course a locust can't hurt me. I'm not really afraid of spiders or anything like that, but yeah.
Every time I ask that question there's something crazy. Like the one week it was sunflowers, another week was something else. Tell our listeners where they can find you, how they can get in touch, how can they make an order, where can they see your feed, your website, whatever it is.
So my Instagram is KINNOIR, and my website is www.kinnnoir.ie. I'm really excited to launch my new website later on this summer, and that will have my brand new collection available as well. And brides can get in touch with me by sending me an email, hello@kinnor.ie, or they can get in touch with a DM on Instagram, also on Facebook, Kinnor Handmade Veils and Headpieces, and I'll be open for taking orders from May 29th, and I'm so excited to work with more brides on that.
Fantastic, Michelle, and look, thank you very much. I'm glad we met on Instagram, and I'm glad we created a relationship here, and I'm glad you're a guest, because I really enjoyed the last hour. It was fun. It was a bit of a laugh,
so much.
And
well, Kevin, I want to say thank you so much for having me here today. When I found your podcast, I absolutely loved it. I love your high energy. I love the crack. I love the stories, and I love your own story into business as well. And you're so inspiring to me, how motivated you are and creative in your businesses. So thank you so much. It's been really enjoyable.
Thank you very much. Thank you for tuning in to the 9th episode of the Biztrepreneur Podcast. It was fun. Michelle is a legend. So yeah, look, I'll be honest with you. We are still in the busiest period of our work at the moment. KR Bouncy Castles is thriving, and if I'm going to tell you that I'm going to be on here next Thursday, it's a lie. Episode 10 is being planned at the moment, and I hope to have it up before the end of August. Season 2 then, a load of really cool guests lined up for season 2 starting mid-September, and it's going to go right through into the winter. So that is exciting. And look, give us a like, share it on your story, pass it to a friend that you may think would benefit from listening to it, and someone that might find a motivation out of it. And look, if you have any suggestions or people that you'd like to hear on the podcast, DM me, Instagram, biztrepreneurpodcast. Just turn on your notifications and keep an eye out for the next episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and good luck, God bless, and we'll see you later.